Okay. Uh, so I've been using my Sentro machine and I decided to add a motor to it. And first thing I did was run a few knots through the tensioner. So I like to use the tensioner because it seems to keep everything more uniform. Anywho, what I came up with was an interrupter switch. And what I'm using here is a normally on switch. Had to remove a cap out of the bottom here and cut this off flush, and then had to drill it out. I used a 5/16 drill bit. Metric probably would have been a little closer, but this was fine. Just land on there. Um, I've had to try to lube the machine and whatnot because running the knots through almost completely destroyed the machine. Also went through, you can't see it, but excuse my mess here, I'm a bit of a tinker. Um, I had to put some shims in the gear. Since it's beveled, if you can push it into the gear more, it actually will make it mesh better. And if it's starting to get a little worn or stripped, or if you run a few knots, I was using some latte cakes, and they tend to have knots in them, and it's like a disaster. I had actually bought the switches, but I wanted to try the machine out before I did that, and that was a bad call on my part because probably going to need a new machine now. It runs rough. It's got a few divots. I actually got inside and sanded a little bit to smooth out burrs inside, but I haven't made a video of any of that. I was too busy working on it to worry about filming it. So back to the switch. Basically, you just take the plug, give yourself some room. These switches, I had to buy 10 to get one, but I'll put a link in there for that. They were still pretty cheap for the 10 of them. But of course, you only need one. But this will work on any of these machines using the same tensioner, and just split the wiring here. Doesn't matter really which one you cut. Cut one of the wires, tie onto each end. Doesn't take an electrician to do it. Nothing against electricians. But then, so I'll show you how it works. Let's see if I can get it here. Yeah. And I'll plug it in. Okay. So, if anything now, it's too sensitive, and I'll probably add a spring that will fit around the outside diameter of this. But pause 1 second here. Okay, I had it unplugged. Safety first. Okay, so start running. You hear she's a little funky, so to speak. All right. Yeah. With the lightest little lift. So if you see, if you hit a knot, it instantly kills the power to it. Can also be used just handy, not hurting anything. It's just killing the power to the motor, and it's pretty much instant. So if you thought about motorizing it, or if you tried, you had this problem, this will actually work. And took me a little bit to work out the idea. I'll put a link to the switches in there. It was like $10 or so, 10, $11 for a pack of 10. And if it was cheap enough to mail them out, I'd give them out for free. I'd like to thank all the people who make the videos. Too many to name. A lot of good videos out there on how to use these machines. I've been using them extensively, learned it, been making scarves and hats, and you know, just having a lot of fun with it. Made my daughter a baby blanket, and I've only had this thing a couple of weeks, so really worth the trouble. But so yeah, and I also glued it with a little hot glue. Just put the stuff on, left the insulators off of here, put a little hot glue in between them, and then just put a little shrink tape. That shrink tubing there, you can get that at any Walmart, you can get it through Amazon. Had to use tape here, or shrink tubing, if I said tape. Rather not use the tape because you can wind up some ooey gooey stickies and stuff that you don't want. but this can be fastened up out of the way, and as long as you're not putting any extra tension on this. I'll probably be refining this a little more, like I said, with a spring that will fit over the outside of this. Could add a little extra spring tension so it's not as sensitive, because right now just the slightest little bump and it's cutting it off. But that's the idea, to save the knitting machine. Anywho, all right, thanks you guys.